Good,
Good day.
good. Yes, I love to hear it. We're starting out slow. We're just us. The most important people are the ones that come first. That's what I say. So thank you for showing up as usual. I see three Spia. It's a new username. I welcome you to our community.
It's me,
Um,
Virgil.
oh, it's you? Okay, you have a second
Yeah.
screen? Okay, good.
Ooh, yeah. I just have
Perfect.
two computers going right now.
Oh, well, yeah. Sometimes it's a must, right? When you're multitasking across different platforms and don't want to have too many of these tabs open. Sorry for my battered look today. I have an eye infection there. I'm treating it, so I might have to wipe my eye during the course of exchange. I'll be maybe going off screen. We'll begin as usual while the other people join with us. I'm not sure Robert didn't yet arrive. Hope all is well on his side. Um, in good tradition, we'll start with an open round of questions if you have any on certain specific things that you're looking at or facing when you're using Now Site. We can start with the particular cases to your current ventures, since you do share same ventures, and there might be things across Now Site that have been not working at your advantage or in a better way.
No,
No,
I'm good.
good. Okay, so I'll
Well, you know
continue.
what? You know what I do need, Virgil? I need the
Mhm.
link to go into you did my L card. Is there a
Mhm.
link that I can get what you did?
They've changed the sharing option with NowSite. Well, I think I put it in the team environment. Let me go check with you because I
Okay.
was pretty sure I made it available there when we had that conversation. So you could actually download it directly. Just go
Okay.
check. If not, I'll put it there right away. It's now the only way you can actually exchange uh,
Oh, really? Okay.
content. Yeah, they no longer allow you to share it directly from the website template. So, oh, actually, this is new. They have it here in the share with me. Let me see what that is.
Shared it with me.
I'll see is it used to be in the marketing tab. I think they moved
Mm-hmm.
it here. Yeah, I'm just gonna see it's taking time to upload. It might be one of their latest changes in Now site. We'll see. Today will be in the Now site environment because I want to go. Uh, okay, yeah, okay.
I think I
So,
remember you putting it in there, Virgil.
sorry.
I think I remember you putting it in there.
Yeah, I did. I'm pretty sure. I'm just gonna go back to the team environment there. Let's go back to that, and we'll take a look at it. I'm pretty sure it's there in the website, the shared website there. So content section, and it's website here.
Okay.
Let me see.
Website.
No, it's not here that I put it. Hmm. Let's go.
Go over
Maybe I.
to the side, Virgil.
Which side? Sorry, let me move this
Over
around.
to the bottom one on the where your the phone and your finger. See if it's in there.
This one here? You mean in
Yeah,
this
I think it
section here?
was.
Let me see. No, I might have put it in the. I'll go back to the content section and see. But since it's general content, I don't think I would have put it there. But we'll see. These are the case studies. You know what? Let me just add it anew. So that will
Okay.
be it. But I don't see it here. So this all will come to the same. I'll put it in the website template here. Let me move this around. Add site. And do I remember the name? That's going to be the challenge. Which name did I give it? And then one of the latest one here. think it might be this one here. Let me just go check. We'll see.
So that was over there, if that's it. I saw him.
Yeah, it was him. Okay, so yeah, we have it. So I think I missed. Oh, so yeah, so it was this
Yeah,
one.
I saw him, yeah.
No, okay, let's then go back there. Content section, and it was in the team website. Oh yeah,
There you go, right
Guru.
there. Yeah.
Yeah, I should have labeled it better
Okay, so
there.
that's why I go, and it's in the website. Okay.
Yeah, website and email template.
Okay, thanks.
Oh, my pleasure, my pleasure. Perfect. Okay. One of the things I wanted to go over today was what was happening in our business profile when we're doing it. There's a lot of things that are being created there that should be used, or at least taking into account. It brings together most of what we're discussing in this space. Uh, Here I have Robert coming in. I'll let him in. So it brings together most of what we're covering in this space. Just put you as um, co-host, Robert. There you go. I'll let Lisa in as well. So in following through what we were discussing yesterday, I really wanted to make sure that we understand the value of what we're getting in the business profile tool and how it also ties in to all these points that we've been covering over the past sessions and weeks, over the past sessions, even within the last transition. Coming back to that discussion around tonality and conversation. The end point is who exactly are we talking to? And one of the things that we do get with NowSite is a lot of information here. I'm not sure how often we are taking this in account, but it's a lot of work that is done for us. And I'm going to use this also today as a base of the conversation or follow up to make this session a little bit more practical. Yesterday, I was covering a lot of theory, but I want to go into what we get out of the tool and how well we can assess these results when we are aware of what it is we're actually looking for or how we're going to be using, connecting these dots, right? We get a lot of information tossed at us by the AI when we prompt it. And often enough, we tend to speed through it, trying to get to the end result. And in this case, we're met with confusion when we're lining up all these dots without necessarily understanding the function of it. We get to these same questions at the end. How should I address my prospect? Where is the value in my proposition? How do I leverage the emotion to get them to move? Right? And I think it's important to go over this. So most of the conversation today will be about what we get out of this and how we use it in accord to everything that came before. Right? One of the things that is important, the first switch that I'm always hammering in when we are going into this space is the conversation here around the who. Who is the target? Going back to the documents and the values that we're trying to seed in, that shift from macro to micro view of our approach is important because most of us, as I said time again, when we are looking at our UVPs or positioning a strong business conversation just in a space like the profile, the business profile, we tend to look at the people, the bigger general audience that we wish to reach. But already there, there's a need for segmentation, for breaking apart these conversation. I mentioned the past sessions about these 10 principles or good advice that I prompted AI to give me to better learn how to use it, right? And the first was the quality of the prompt. The second was understanding that AI was a co-creator in this exercise, and a lot of what you have to offer or what it offers you is subject to your evaluation, your interpretation as well, right? Your control, your end control. And the third one was segmentation, right? It started going into that conversation again, right? Today, we're still, I think, in the second part of the advice, understanding what is the content that is being given to us, right? And the shift from macro to micro is important because this is where you go from attraction marketing to direct marketing, right? When you are actually looking to complete the sell, you are speaking to a specific who and understanding the dynamics, the demographics, the mind state, the emotion, the pain points become important, right? We have the AI to do so, great, but we need to be able to stand behind those conversations by understanding this process. And that's often I think, the big misalignment between your unique and the value proposition, right? The value proposition in themselves over time will find competitive offers, people that are trying to leverage the same conversation. And the uniqueness is always the person behind that conversation, you, right? If we're talking about transfer of energy in terms of emotion to get that motion going, right? Well, that energy doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It starts with you. You anchor that energy. This is where the confidence behind a conversation or the confidence behind your expertise or whatever social proof you have comes in to reinforce and ground you in that conversation. This is when you truly have the end ingredient to your special sauce, right? Because whatever we're trying to do here is trying to create that sauce, but we have to stand behind whatever is the end result. That's the most important thing, right? So the shift from macro to micro is a step that we often neglect. I'm just gonna try to get this out to the world another time. Let's see if this works. I want to get into the habit of doing so. It's trying to go to the next level. Give me some problems, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to get through these mechanics eventually. What happens now? So, sorry for that breakaway. So, going back to what we were talking about, the shift from macro to micro, it's important. Just considering the principle or the idea of attraction marketing and direct marketing, you will require that, right? The conversation has to be broad enough when you're doing attraction marketing. So you're operating at the macro level of your conversation. And you want that to gather the biggest amount of ears and interest in your niche segment, which is comprised of micro, I would say, personalities, all around the same interests. And when you're trying to sell, this is where it's important, right? Understanding that shift when you are trying to engage in any form of messaging, that also has to come into play. This is where the pain points and such come into view. There's one thing going back to now side or shift to the embodiment of that is that when you are giving it your business description here, the first thing that it's giving you, it's that macro conversation, right? And already you have to be aware yourself of the choice of audience that you have made before coming into this tool, so the outcome is stronger. Or if you weren't sure, based on that conversation, AI will give you the target audience, and you want to be able to evaluate it, right? So this is the first step. This is the macro. I also showed you how AI, because we're actively using AI again, so we're not going to try to fade away from the tool, but we have to conquer the use of it, and this is what it's more important. And I showed you many times how I use the AI with this macro version to get this micro view of who exactly would be the makeup of this avatar, right? Often enough, we get that information and we kind of browse through it, but there's a lot of value here. As a matter of fact, the whole conversation around the who is in the end trying to map out this through conversations, through research, through engagement, and fine tune this avatar profile, right? This is the block on which we start working. So, and this exercise has to be done at least once, right? If you haven't done it when you were creating your brand attributes and you left it at the macro view of your audience target, well, when you come down to creating your actual marketing conversation or acquisition system, well, you will have to start considering that micro view. When you are engaging in sales tactics, when you are engaging in Q&As, you will have to understand this micro view. So at any point in time, if you have not done it, it will come back to you, right? And we're all about building foundational values, foundational pillars, so that as we grow, we don't fall back into issues that should have been dealt with. So keep in mind, there's a lot of value in this, and this is also something that I want to cover. I haven't added it as part of the documents because it's really just a summary of this on display so that we can break it down together. And as we go through these different criteria as oral information, we will see how it correlates to where the positioning of our conversations should go, or what is the power or the value that it should have or offer, right? So these are important things. When we're getting them, we tend to browse through them, plow through the information and try to get to the result without necessarily knowing where we get the motion, where the power comes into the conversation, right? So this is what we got from that prompt on the AI. I put it on display so we can better see it, right? So we get an age. And again, the age is always an important factor. Simply put, the age will determine a lot of time, I'll say most of the time, it could be a bias. I'll put it out there for any comment and pushback. But a lot of time, the age will determine which type of social media you will find these people on, this person on, right? So if we're looking at somebody that is between 25 and say 45, they might be actively on LinkedIn as they are in their professional age, right? They might be lesser on another platform, or they might be present, but mostly active on one, right? So keep that in mind. There might be family interests there. The occupation is solopreneur running a digital marketing consulting, Austin, Texas, right? Again, location is important. Coming down to the choice of language preference, for example. Where are you located? Okay, in this part of the world, this is the conversation. This is the culture. This is how I should dress up my offer. Educational background, this is always important to gauge the level of maybe conversation that you want to have, especially if we're looking at somebody that studied in the field or industry that we're trying to offer, right? We might be prepared or need to prepare for specific questions. And that is something, that is information that we get, right? All that builds confidence into knowing who exactly you're going to be addressing. Income is a value, right? Often enough, if we have a high value ticket, well, conversation or qualification will hover around that key topic, because whatever it is, if you're interested, if you don't have the buying power for it, then we can't really conclude the transaction, right? Coming back to these all around service offers, all around the household. I mean, save bills, cut down on certain costs, increase power by using a coupon system or reward system, right? All these conversation, multi-services type offer around financial service often have to do around the household income, right? So very important. A single person income can be the whole household income, or it can be shared half of the income or part of the income. And that also gives you a level of the social conversation to prepare for. Right? Very important. If we're talking and offering products that are investment based, well, investment requires the knowledge of that, since it requires the person to be able to have a specific capital. Unless we're not looking at these type of investment, it's something of a different nature that scales over time with a built-in process. But at that point, you know how you're going to be presenting that. Still hovers around that conversation of income, right? And all these, as we're going through them, are where you find your pain points in the conversations or your emotions, your aspirations, right? Very important. The personal background, coming back to the culture, coming back to the predisposition, coming back to the first connection message, right? Understanding the background of that person is important, right? Coming back even further to the formatting of our My AI, we were asked to do exactly the same thing. So that from there, when we understand what value will move them, we can put that at the core of our offer, of our proposition, right? Remember yesterday in the quick wordplay that we had in the end about vegan sauce and whatnot? Well, understanding that vegan like tofu, and tofu is something that is a different type of meat, if I understand it, equating or talking to that type of audience specifically about that niche need, and the outcome could be the opening for such a product if there is one, right? Very important, understanding the culture of the person, the background, what are they are making, what makes them up, right? They're psychographic, as we later come to understand it. First thing first, it gave us demographics. And yesterday you saw when I was covering this tool, it was trying to gather these information under these broad terms. But when you look at the actual avatar profile, this is what they mean. This is where they fall in. This is where these details become important for you, right? Going through it, understanding, picking and choosing it, and making that the more refined type version of this general avatar that you want to speak to. When you expand that to a macro level, right? Remember that the difference between micro and macro is just the amount of individuals, at least to our understanding. One individual or a lot of individual. I'm trying to do the numbers game when I'm doing attraction. So I want to talk to the greatest amount of that same type of ear. This is where all the volume of marketing starts taking effect, right? And this is where we're working on patterns, right? You're going to pick up this mechanics, and that will allow you to move with a lot more motion in the sense that, yes, you can speed through these prompts and get what you need and quickly refine it by understanding how you or how this is supposed to be evaluated and applying it, right? This is the most important thing. After that, it becomes, after you've done this study or this uh, 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 step-by-step walkthrough at the beginning of all your business interests, it becomes very hard not to have a clear idea of how your marketing should go, what type of pictures, what type of colors, or why it matters, right? When we talk about speaking to people's pain points and challenges, well, looking at that information when it comes through is where we are looking at formulating the right conversation at the end. This is where all this factors in, right? The tool that I offered or the exercise that I offered was in the end to get us to go through that exercise and document. Once we have that, we can see, okay, these are the specific type of conversation structure that I should be referring to. We can take that and challenge it with another AI, refine it, because that's what we're supposed to do. Perfection is a becoming, it's not a state, and we all will adhere to that, right? So back to what we're getting from the Now Side AI, a lot of good information. We have to take the time, if we're using these prompts, of course, understanding that these are the dots that we have to connect and the process that we're supposed to follow to get to the end result that we're desiring. If we're doing so, then we, again, should be very comfortable in the next stage, which is connecting, right? Understanding, okay, well, in the grand scope scheme of things, this is how this person is supposed to react. Let's see. At least if the person didn't react to this message, you can start understanding how to optimize it, how to refine it. It's not a shot in the dark. They're a controlled interaction. In the case of downside, it even lines you up with the process by which you would want to formulate your conversation, the engagement door for this type of audience, right? Again, a core structure that you want to use and make sure that you find it or find its essence in every piece of conversation that you create from that point on, right? It takes away the conversation around uncertainty when you are actually running your marketing campaigns. It allows you to have a more approached or controlled exercise of that, right? Because now you understand, okay, I am evaluating this, I'm taking these steps, these are the returns. This is technically how this target audience should be reacting. It's confirmed with the prompts, with the AI. This is the results that I'm looking to achieve. It becomes also a lot easier to start scaling your conversation or your approach, right? And eventually, or in the end, this is what we came to understand is recommended, because even after you set up your acquisition process, your conversion process, your retentions process, well, that conversion is that period where everything happens semi-organically in that exchange, right? And it takes a number of time for you to master the process of that type of interaction at a macro point before you can start implementing it or automating it, right? We had come to agreement that that was the best way, for, at least for us, was starting at the beginning, remaining agile, implementing as we learn. We might start a conversion process before even having set up all operation, or depending on the conversion process, the way we taught the onboarding would have was going to proceed has to be readjusted. Right? I'm just going to grab a glass of water here. While I'm doing that, any questions so far? Everything clear?
No questions in the chat.
I think that again, this is a reminder because we are all aware of that information. But how do we apply it? This is where the conversation usually will go in different direction, right? We all know that this is what is supposed to be done. If we didn't, then it is reinforcement, but we all sense that need, right? It brings all back to that conversation. So if we had overlooked these details and the power of it, well, this is where we need to go back. If we think that our conversation is misaligned because the results are not as expected, then this is ultimately where we need to come back because the customer is first and last. It's the first idea around which we create our product, and it's the end consumer of this product. And it's also the source of any feedback and optimization. And so understanding this or knowing that this is part of the process, and if ever our marketing emails are not converting, when we're reviewing email campaigns, often enough, these are the conversations that I'm having. First thing first, let's make sure that everything is set up properly. Because once the machine is running the sequence properly, then the only problem that we have with the results is the content, right? And if your content is not engaging, then we first have to look at what is being said there. And if we're looking at what is being said there, we're directly looking at who this email is intended for. We want to make sure that it's aligned, right? If I'm sending information out to a crowd that is not interested, well, I will get no results. That is the first thing that I have to look for. Right? So when you're evaluating your campaign, the result of your campaign, you're falling back to this conversation that was offered. Is my conversation hitting the right pain points, the right emotions? Is it the right avatar that I'm even speaking to? Is it the right who? Right? And the AI in outside gives you even more, right? If we go back to it, and this is where the need of making sure that we come to this space with at least this strong business conversation rooted in these simple values. What it is I'm offering, right? Who it is I am looking at, and how is it that I'm offering? Because the AI not only will give you that macro audience, it will refine your conversation, which is usually where people will stop at. But it does that, but gives you a lot more. Just go back to that. It does that and gives you a lot more. For example, the acquisition system, right? But before that, the leading off. When we're looking at UVP, unique value positioning, well, this is a very good place to start as well. Out of everything that I've discussed and offered here around my what and my who, it's going to give me this conversation, right? You want to evaluate that and see if, yes, it is in line with your target audience, right? Is it aligned with your brand values? Hopefully, well, knowing the AI it will do, align it with something that adheres to the greatest conversation, a more logical conversation in that space, that might send you elsewhere, right? So keep that in mind. Coming back to the document here, there's beyond the acquisition system, give you the main offer as well. One of the things that you can do while you're doing that, for example, this is where this little tool will come into play for it for practical use. At least the first time, so that you can manually go through that process and understand where you are going with this. And if you refine, since the end result here of this tool is actually giving you a good evaluation or a good idea of messages that could be used, since the algorithm is built on our emotional approach, our emotional trigger stacking combo approach. The end result is something that you can use to guide you into the next steps. It's also a good way to document what we are going to be using so that we can refer to it. And I'm a firm advocate of doing that. Every time we come into the AI and we build something that we are happy with, that we are strong with, we should make sure to save this outside of the system so that you can refer to it, so that it can be used as foundation for more content, right? And speed in execution is something that you need. So documenting this is important. And as discussed, you can see that we're going through these different steps, right? You definitely want for each conversation that you're about to have, for each offer, be knowledgeable about these things, right? If nobody can feel confident talking to an audience that they're not prepared for, right? No, I have yet to see that. Even the most seasoned one, you can be comfortable with the stage and the conversation. But if you're discussing a specific subject, you need to make sure that the audience is actually the intended audience or ear for that conversation. Otherwise, you won't see. Nothing will happen. So you want to be aware of that each time, and that will make you more strong in the presentation or the pitching in your conversation. The rest will become technical terms that you have to refer to, keywords, we call them, that you have to refer to remain in the industry and in the interest of the audience, right? But the confidence, the emotion, the knowledge comes from this, or the preparation comes from this, not from this piece, right? And often enough, we speed through that. Questions so far? None?
None here.
No? So going, if there, because when you take this back in perspective, and there's no question, it's either that we're understanding certain things that we should have done, or we are aligning the end result with what was done properly. I want to know where we stand in that between well, I would say 1 to 5 in numbers. Can we get that rating and see? All right. Where do we stand? We are all aware of this. We have no question. Is it that we now understand what we've done properly and have confidence, found confidence in how we're going to be moving forward with that? 1 to 5. Go ahead, Lisa, Dr. Lisa.
I just want to say how powerful this tool is, this information is, this, what we have in our hands. And I really appreciate your walking us through, because you've used the word consistently. It is about the connection. And when we are in network marketing, we're not all, a lot of people are, I'm an amateur when it comes to network marketing. We have great products, we have great intentions, we want to help, but we don't really know how to convey the message for the individual. And, sometimes it's not going to work, even with AI. I mean, sometimes, your customer really, really clearly and closely, and it backfires. But to be able to, I guess, start from a framework of who you're talking with on an individual basis is amazing. So thank you. If I could share a little funny story, my brother, okay, who is a customer of my network marketing. So he knows what I do. He knows that he's been paying for them for years. He loves them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he asked me a couple months ago for a recipe for large roasted carrots. He's in love with roasted large carrots, and he wants a recipe. And my company came out with spices that are, gluten-free, all the things. And they sound great. I haven't tried them all, but they sound, and so I sent him, I said, I think these would be great on those carrots. And he responded to me, sounds like you're a company, you've gone corporate. You asked me, these products, you've been taking them for years. But now I've gone corporate because I shared something with you that I thought would help you. So AI couldn't have even helped me with that, right? but what we have in our hands is amazing, and I'm looking forward to not just learning more about it, but actually using it to full effect.
Yes. That is the greatest goal in this state of things. It's no matter how we try, we who have our driver's license will never be able to build, not of us, build a car, right? But we have to know the basics around how it functions so that we can drive it well. We can make good use of it. And that's one of the things that is important. And the easiest way is continuously using it the right way, with the right framework, right? And it's so important, this idea of framework. The audience framework is it's the root of everything. Because as an inventor, for example, when you're trying to invent something, you have to look at what is happening out there, what is the need, or what is the conversions of thought, where is it going? And from there, you will pull that ideal, you will pull that mechanics that will be well received. Some things have been created ahead of their times. Sometimes you hear say that, meaning that the audience is not ready for this, or it doesn't fit the current culture or the market of things, right? So the audience, that framework, especially for us, it's not only it's at the core of any offer we make, but it's also at the core of who we have decided to become, right? Network marketers. There's the marketing, and this is what we're talking about. The networking is a people's game, right? Is meeting people, understanding how to speak to them, understanding how to connect to them, right? And if you're going out there with confidence, then it means that you are strong in who you are, and you're also strong in who you are looking to speak to. Of course, you're not a excluding anybody else that would pick up on the interest that might not look at first the part, but that would actually be a perfect fit. But to shoot straight, or not to use that word, but to go into a certain direction, right? You want to have a good framework of who exactly you're talking to, right? This is, if you don't know, and that often is something that happens in the door-to-door sales world, and that happened a lot to me, is that I wouldn't know how to sell the product, but each time I would engage in great conversation with the people answering the door or answering the phone, right? The relationship, the connection was no problem, but then the shift to the sell part was lacking, meaning that you do need knowledge of your product. But in the end, as a network marketer, as somebody that is offering relationships more than products or sales, that idea of understanding who the audience is becomes the first framework. Who am I going to be talking to? Right? It's even more so important, as we discussed yesterday, when we're pitching to a business. We have to understand the nature of the business, that firmographic that we came to discover together, which is the same thing of the demographics, because when you speak to that person, the conversation won't be about their pain points, but the company's pain points, the company's needs, right? So having a clear framework of who is the end client or person benefiting from the service is important in that conversation. Because you might not like the conversation, the person that is offering the product, but if your company really needs the service, you will look beyond that, right? Same if you are not sure that the company would need the product, but the conversation is, well, reinforcement enough for you to want to try and see, right? So that conversation about the relationship, the value of it, knowing exactly the framework of who you are talking to or what you're offering and how it relates to that entity or person needs is important, right? If at any point in time in your approach, whether it's in the building of an email or the crafting of a post or the conversation in the different section of your websites, if ever there's a block there, then the first point of reference is, okay, who am I speaking to? And at which point does this conversation is hitting part of these criteria, right? If somebody's digital footprints reveal that he's an active consumer of things online, video, podcast, then that will steer your marketing in that direction, right? Because if you like videos and content that you can interact with, and I keep sending you notes that you're meant to read, that's going to be a problem, even if you're in the right niche and ear. Go ahead, Dr. Lisa.
I just thought of narrowing down where the roadblock is for many is the pivot from the relationship building to the sales conversation.
Yes. Well, when you are having that conversation, and it's leading to pain points and aspiration, this is the zone where you pivot, right? If we met on a business interest And over a few conversation, we lingered in the building rapport, right? Because this is, if I'm bringing this back to the sales flow, this is what we're looking at, right? We made the connection, right? We started building rapport, and we stayed in that realm. Well, yes, if we are stuck in that space, we're going to go back to that customer's framework. First, are we in this space because he simply doesn't qualify and we're just getting emotional reinforcement by talking to this person? If so, then we need to move on to the next connection, right? But if that person that we have engaged with, that who falls within that framework, if we're lingering in the building rapport, it's either because we haven't discovered the pain point or the aspiration and how it connects to our product, because that is a natural pivot, right? You do marketing, I do marketing. Great. How long have you been doing this? 5 years. Look, tomorrow I'll send you this. You'll take a look at it. I really want you. So this goes on, and I'll send you mine. And no. Okay, perfect. Right. But at one point, I will say, hey, you know what? As a market or network marketer, this is my difficulty. Where is yours? Because this is how I answer that difficulty. This is my solution. And that was the pivot, the natural pivot in the conversation, right? So if you're lingering in the building the rapport, it means that your conversation is staying around general demographics, general values, right? And we're not moving to the pain point or the aspiration. Because remember, what leads you into that conversation is bring a solution to one of these questions. What is the issue that you would want to fix? Or where do you want to go now that you're satisfied where you currently are? Aspiration.
Well, yeah. And, and my point is that this tool helps with that so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely take the time to absorb it, right? Because it allows you, as we just covered, to find, okay, well, this is where I should pivot. This is where I want to lead the conversation towards, right? And on the general, once you have that good understanding at a micro level, then it becomes easier to stand strongly behind your macro conversation. Because even in the grand scheme of things, you know which pain points you're individually hitting, right? Because they're the common one to all. Generally, that is the best way of positioning, or this is commonly what we see when we look at good marketing, attraction marketing. They cannot address a specific who, so the conversation is kept very simple and touching a general pain point or general aspiration, right? And you want to keep in mind, okay, this is what they're doing. The idea, again, follows through when we're applying this in the KISS type approach in the funnel, for example. I want to start with a very open conversation and bring you to a specific offer. So I either want to come in with a very targeted and moral exchange for a niche audience, and through that core, through the first step, I'm trying to personally drive in a pain point, making also that shift from macro to micro. Right? So keep that in mind. That information is there every time. You make it stronger by coming in with the raw material, the raw prompt structure with the right details that the AI needs to know to give you even more strength and motion. Once you have that, you also have to take ownership of it as the co-creator. You prompted, the tool gave you you have to go over that. And it's a tedious process since we are in this fast-paced age, but it's a required step each time. Whether you do it at the beginning, during, or at the end when you're starting to evaluate and realizing that, well, you put all that into place, but it's not going into the right audience, not right ear, hence no engagement. I need to come back and do this. Right? If the goal was to set up the operation and then come back and evaluate, so be it. However, the products, the operation are usually framed as well for that hoop. So each time you're coming back at the beginning, you're tweaking, optimizing, or changing the whole rollout to fit the audience. Right? When you're going out there posting, or when you're using your nav tool to capture profiles, well, these are the things that you're hunting for, these criteria. Does that fall into that demographic? Does that fall into that psychographic? Okay, this is the perfect fit. I can pitch in my main or offer, right? I can prepare better for the Q's and A's, right? Q's and A's also are based in that, okay, most of the fear that will follow the client making the decision to convert will be in that space of values, of personal interaction with either the product or the community, fear, which is one of the what it would say, golden go-to for everything that is either financial or crypto based, right? The process or the conversation is always meant to be as much based in education and earning. Right there, the positioning that they address is fear, the fear of the unknown, the fear of loss, since we don't know exactly what is happening there. And nobody knows when you're starting something new what is happening behind the veil. And finances being very close to your livelihood, that's a real fear, right? And you will notice most of the offers in that space will be tagged with that conversation, education and earning, right? You don't have to know, but you will have to learn. And it's in your interest, is the underlining essence of the conversation each time, right? And to get to that offer, well, you had to frame the clients properly and understand, okay, how do we make them pivot? Okay, so there's a lot of information there. If you did this properly and you are not sure or want to evaluate your processes, go back to these conversations, apply the same step, and look again. Is what are the conversation that you're having or not having, are them aligning themselves with that avatar? Interests, pain points, need, psychographic, digital footprints. And all that is important in the end to dictate the tone of the conversation, which is an added factor, right? So simple thing, we all have it before our eyes. Let's just make use of it and take advantage of that. It's a tool. I'm amazed that this has been done this way when it came out, because it answered a niche need among us that are starting out or don't have a lot of information to go by when we're venturing out in this marketing, network marketing adventure. But one of the things that we should quickly build up is that idea of relationship building, of connection, of wanting quickly to discover who it is that we're talking to. It's the same thing that is happening here, right? And when I go out there to meet people, quickly I'm asking all these questions to collect data. Where are you from? What do you like? Okay, where did you study? Well, it's the same thing in network marketing or in this space that we're doing. We want to collect all that data, so we better know who we're going to be talking to. So we can say, oh, I guess you most likely like this and most likely have this issue. How did you know? Well, we happen to be in the same interest. Make sense for everybody? Perfect. Hope it was good. Try the tool. If anything, if you have refined your conversation, put it there, get the document so that it's something that you can refer to at all time. It's also going to be a good way to test the score and see different combination being applied. It's something that it's a format that I'm going to try keeping since it allows us to have a practical use of these exercises. The tool is a summary of the course. So if we take a look at it, you can apply it using the course. It allows you to save the progress as well. So hope this was valuable, and I'll see you next Monday for the lost transition.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Okay.